Thank you for joining us for our festivals webinar and info session. We have Ricky, Guillaume, and Timothea, Pham, who are going to be with us today too from the communities team. And we will just get started in a couple of minutes. So can you guys see this on the bottom of my screen? The remote control and the pause. Is that in the way at all? Timothy and Ricky? No? Okay.
I don't think so.
And the shared screen? Okay.
You're good.
So we'll get started in like 1 minute. That's good. So good afternoon, everyone, again. Thank you so much for joining. We're here today to talk about the festivals program and the spring summer application that opened on the 27th, and it is open until the 15th, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we just wanted to give you some updates on the guidelines for this particular grant cycle that goes from March 1st to August 31st. So let's get started. So we just wanted to let you know we're really excited about the fact that we now have for all of our Zoom calls at Mass Cultural Council the option of captioning. So if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that we are live captioning, and you'll see a live transcript. If you don't see that on your screen, you can we want you put that information in the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll get you some help so that you can be able to see that if you need that. So today presenting is myself, Lisa Simmons. I am the program manager for the Communities Initiative, which is the local cultural council program, the festivals program, and the cultural districts program. And Timothea, Pham, who is a program officer with the communities team as well, who's going to be helping with the Q&A and the chat. So if you have any questions, if you're thinking about anything, please make sure you drop those questions in the chat, and we will get to those after the presentation. We also have joining with us Ricky Guillaume, who's also a program officer in the communities department. So again, any questions that you might have in the chat, just drop them in there, and we're happy to answer any of those questions at the end. So today's agenda, basically, we are going to be going over the background and an overview of the festivals program, the eligibility for festival grants, information about the application, and some great new resources that we have for you. And then, as I said, we'll go back to questions. So we're going to go through this at a good pace. But all of this information is available on our website with the guidelines and everything. So if you have any questions, also this PowerPoint will be available to you. We will put this webinar in the resource section, so you'll have that as well. So let's talk a little bit first about the program background. So the program started in January of 2016. It's the first festival application. Really exciting. The reason why the festival program even came about was because we knew that there were producers, there were people that were creating great programs in communities all across Massachusetts, and we wanted to figure out a way that we could support festival producers in bringing these festivals to their communities. So our original investment was $100,000, and that was for 2 grant cycles, for the spring, summer, and the fall, winter grant cycles. And so that is still the same this year as well. However, because of the budget and the time frame of the budget that came out from the state, we are only able to do the spring, summer FY21 grant program. We will, depending upon, and it's always subject to the funds that we receive from the state government, we'll be more than likely doing an FY22 fall winter program. So really, it's just really making sure that you're looking back at the website to hear more information. The grants are $500. They were $500 in 2016. They continue to be that. Our goal is just to be able to support as many festivals as we can and to help festivals use the grants that we get. Oftentimes people will use it as a way to get more money as well. So the $500 grants are the same, and we talked a little bit about why. And then the date that the program, the date that you have for your programs across the festivals program. So program overview, $500, we said. This year, we're doing stuff a little differently. So we have always granted, because all of us, we were doing in-person festivals, right? I mean, we've all gone through a lot with COVID-19, but we've all really grown and learned a lot as well. So we really wanted to have our grants this year reflect on what we've seen over the course of the last year. So we wanted to grant in-person festivals, and as it says here, as long as they're complying with state guidelines. So we know that, every, so often the governor is going to change, like he just did today, changed the number of people that can be in a certain space in a place. And so as long as your in-person festival is complying with those statewide guidelines, then we are funding in-person festivals. We are now funding online festivals. We have seen so many amazing and creative festivals that have gone online, and it's been really exciting. I think that people have found that the access that they're allowing people to have and being able, and their reach is much farther and wider than it had ever been before. And so they've been able to develop and engage audiences. And so that's really exciting. And then the new thing is that we really felt like we really wanted to support audience engagement and audience development. So this was really important because a lot of this work came out of a pilot program that we did around audience development and audience engagement with Arts Boston. And we really learned a lot about what people really needed to do and to learn in order to help sustain their festival. And we wanted to make sure that the funds that we were giving out this year were reflective of what we had learned. So it really is to help you strengthen your community presence and to be able to deliver future festivals. This particular grant for audience engagement and audience development is not available for first-time festivals. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that. So what are the goals of our program? They're really quite basic, and it really is, comes down to really supporting arts and culture at its most, most community form, and that is to celebrate arts, humanities, and sciences, to create a sense of place, to offer diverse cultural experiences. Oftentimes at festivals, we'll do that, culture festivals, ethnic festivals. It's amazing the kinds of things that are going on across this Commonwealth, and we're happy to just be able to support that. We want to make sure also that Massachusetts artists are supported and working within these festivals and these communities, and oftentimes that happens, and really to showcase communities in a really positive and celebratory light. So that has been, those are our goals. They've been our goals since the beginning, and they will continue to be our goals. So let's talk a little bit about eligibility. So for you to be eligible for this program, you do have to be a Massachusetts-based 501c3 nonprofit organization, and you have to be in good standing, right? And oftentimes we'll look through GuideStar and we'll find out that information, but that's just so that you know that you do have to do that. You have to be a 501c3 or a fiscal agent, but we'll get to that in the next couple of bullets. You also can be a municipal entity like a local cultural council, a public library, a recreation department. Oftentimes are putting on fairs and festivals within a municipality. So they are eligible. And then you are also eligible for the festival grant if you're using a fiscal agent. So as long as you're an unincorporated group associated with a nonprofit objective. So if you're a nonprofit, if you're unincorporated and you have a fiscal agent, you can receive, you are eligible for this program. So all program eligibility for all applicants. So you have to be managed by a Massachusetts-based entity. All right, the festival has to have an identifiable arts, humanities, and science theme. You have to employ or showcase Massachusetts arts, humanities, and scientists. This is really, when we developed the guidelines for the festival program, we wanted to really support communities, but we also wanted to make sure that we were supporting artists within the, and so we wanted to make sure that we were marrying together not only supporting those festivals, but also asking festivals and helping festivals understand the importance of looking in their own communities or even outside of their communities, but showcasing Massachusetts artists if your festival was producing a festival that had artists and performing artists as part of it. Also that the festival's open to the public, that's really important. That and also that there's some aspect of your festival that is free or discounted. One of the things when we started this festival program is that we really wanted to make sure that your festivals were open to anyone and everyone who would have the possibility of participating in your festival, which is why we included that as part of your eligibility. So let's just go a little bit deeper into the online and in-person festival applicants for program eligibility. So as we said, the festival has to be held in Massachusetts. It has to be open to the public. So for the online and in-person festivals, it can be a one-day event, and it can be any amount of time for that one-day event. And that's a change from the prior guidelines when it was the guidance was that it would have to be 4 hours or more. So this is just, it has to be a one-day event, and that it's a consecutive sequence of thematically curated events that takes place no longer than 28 days. So this is also a change. We felt like with online festivals and the way that people were creating things in a different way and using the community and creating festivals, we wanted to give people the opportunity to have longer than a 14-day run of a festival, but it does have to be consecutive in the time. It can't be like a series where it would be 4 Saturdays in the month we're going to do this. That's not considered a festival. So one of the things that we are asking this year, that if you are planning an in-person festival, that you must have a plan to deliver it online if the need be. So that question is going to be asked in the application if you are doing an online festival. And first-time festivals can apply for your online or your in-person festival. So let's talk a little bit about audience development and engagement applicants. This is new this year, as I said before, and really based on that work that we did with Arts Boston and the Audience Lab. So we really wanted to help festivals be sustainable. And we understand that it might be another year that you might not be able to hold your festival. So we wanted to come up with a way that we could still support you. And by doing that, we thought that providing funds for audience development and audience engagement would really be helpful for you. So that means that you can apply for funds to develop or strengthen your social media, your websites, audience engagement activities that you might need to do, whether it's from surveys to to website information, the way that you're going to engage your audiences. And so all of this, the audience engagement and the audience development piece we go into more depth in that in the guidance document and the resources page that we have for festivals. It's under our FAQs. So if you have any questions about what audience development is or audience engagement, please take a look at those FAQs. We've listed some really good ideas about how other festivals have gone about doing that. For the audience development and the audience engagement piece, we, as I said before, first-time applicants are not eligible to apply for this particular part of the funding, but you can apply for if you're doing an online or an in-person festival. So just want to go over, most of this is the same from each year that the festival application has been up, but I just want to go over it because I think it's important for us to recognize the ineligible activities around the festival's grants. So parties, private celebrations, and again, all of this is on the website. So if you need to look, and then this presentation will be available to you. Things that are organized for political purposes, trade fairs, and things that are commercial or of consumer nature. You're not eligible if your festival is just as a fundraiser and just for a fundraiser. That, as we just talked about, that it's not a season or a seasonal series is not going to be eligible. Competitions and awards aren't eligible for a festival's grant. And sports and recreation activities, not, and scholarship programs and conferences and symposiums and things like that are not eligible as well. And then recitals are not eligible either. And then general operating support. So again, general operating support are things like, like if your fax machine or your, things like that are general operating support. And again, that is also in the FAQs if you have any questions for that. So eligible expenses. So let's talk a little bit about now what your eligible expenses are for this festival grant. So we have social media engagement and marketing costs, which is exciting because this is sort of new. This is part of your audience engagement and development work. And these are the things that you can apply for. Costs associated with strengthening your festival, audience engagements tools, using cable access, using radio, print, all of these things that you need to continue to engage your audiences. Sometimes there's costs associated with those, whether it's an ad buy, whether you're doing an ad buy on Facebook or however you're doing that, that is now an eligible expense. Fees paid to artists, you can use that money for that. Programming and production costs, equipment rentals. Oftentimes, if you're doing a music program that you need sound equipment or you even might need lighting equipment. Accessibility services are really big, and also interpreters and guides are eligible. Translation costs are also eligible for your festival program. Maybe it's a brochure, maybe you want to do something on your website to help reach a wider audience. You can use your funds for that. Marketing and promotional materials, again, brochures, whatever you're doing online that you could use. And then audience surveys. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to data collection. But audience surveys are really a great way to also use these funds. It also comes back around to audience engagement and audience development and reaching a wider audience. So very few ineligible expenses. It's really food and beverages, and then non-arts and cultural festival components. Like if there's a big fair, whether it's the bouncy house or something like that, those are the types of things that that are going to be ineligible for expenses. So the application. So the application is up, as I said. The deadline is going to be the 15th. This just gives you a timeline of what you can expect. So make sure you get that in by the 15th. There have been in the past times that we've had a rolling deadline, but because this is such a short time frame that we're doing this, that your applications do have to be in by the 15th. The funding period, as I talked about before, is March 1st to August 31st. We will start making decisions on March 1st. The application review is handled in-house, and really, most of it is focused really on eligibility. So you know, get those applications in. The deadline the 15th, and then we hope to get our notifications out to you by the first week in April. And then you will get your contracts, and this is all just, you know, if you're eligible, if you're approved for the application, you know, because again, it's a short time frame this year, we're requiring you to have your contracts and your final reports. But all of this, you can take a look at it. It will be on the website, so you won't have you'll have all that information. But the most important part of it right now is that you're applying and that you get that application in by the 15th. So here we are at data collection and reporting. One of the things I think that is really, really important for you as festival producers is that you collect data. And it is one of the requirements for this grant, and the requirement is more for you than it is for us. But we do want to know how you are going to be collecting data, because this collecting data and being able to know who your audience is and then being able to reach back out to your audience with the data you collected is really, really important for the sustainability of your festival. So you will find on the festival resource page, it's now, and there'll be a link that I'll share with you, that there's two data collection webinars that are on our resource page that I really recommend that you watch. It runs the gamut from like having a helicopter fly overhead or a drone fly overhead so that you can count the number of people that are at your event, to just basically doing surveys. So it's definitely you know, it's scaled to a capacity level, but you know, it's really about collecting email addresses, or however, whether you're doing an Eventbrite and you can collect people's email addresses that way, whether you're in person and you're having somebody, you know, sign their name and their email address, whatever it is, collecting data is really important. So I want to make sure that you understand that it is part of your grant. So when you get approved, you could even go on our guidance and our FAQs and our research page now, just before you even apply, or even while you're waiting on your application, to just sort of go over those. They're incredibly helpful. So here's our resource page. So as I said, we had this pilot program that we just completed with Arts Boston with 10 festivals to really get a better understanding of how we could best support festivals, and put them through a number of workshops and programmatic things that they could figure out how best to market their festival, how best to engage their audience. And from that came this incredible toolkit for anyone who's doing events, anyone who's doing a festival. And so it's right here. Here's the link, and we'll click on it and let you take a look at it. But it's really Don Heinen, who is our website person, web manager, has done an incredible job of really sort of chunking that up for you, so that if you're interested in doing social media, there's a session on that. If you want to do data collection, there's a section on that. So it's a really great tool for you to be able to take a look at. So I think that's it for now. This is basically who's going to be working on this program and who does work on this program. From Timothea and I, who review your applications, to Cindy, who's our fiscal, Dawn, who's web, and Scott and Evelyn, who really help us with the back end and being able to pull your grants in and review them. So we just want to make sure that you know and you see the faces of the Mass Cultural Council who are working on your grants. So those are our new guidelines. So if you have any questions, I think there might be some questions, Timothy and Ricky, if you just want to.
Yeah, of course. So our first question is from Kimberly Schendel, and she asked, if there are two festivals that will fall under the funding period from the same organization, can both of those festivals get the $500?
So no, one organization, it's only one festival application per organization per grant cycle. So if you, it's so only one, only you can only apply for one of those festivals for the spring summer. If you had a festival that was happening fall winter, you would be able to apply for that. But right now, if one org, it's only one organization per festival application per grant cycle.
Perfect. And then Lisa, we have another question from Mary. What is done with all the data collection? That's a lot of work to collect during a festival.
It is a lot of work, and I'm just going to put, I run a festival as well, so I know how much work it is. And so you all are keeping your data collection. We're requiring, you're going to tell us how you collected data and what you know, what you did, what you sort of like, you know, where you, how, what process you use to collect that data. So like I said, the data collection is for you. We don't want that collected data you have. We're just asking you, how are you doing it? And what is your process for doing it? And what is your thought about using that data? So you don't need to send us your email lists, and you don't need to send us your survey results. Those are really for you to use on your own. It's just a requirement of the grant that you do some sort of data collection.
Lisa, I have one from Sandra Thomas. She says, to be in good standing, we want to be sure to respond to last year's grant with the proper final reporting. We were unable to hold our B-Fest due to COVID, but I was advised to go to gosmart.org, but there is no obvious form to fill it out. Can you give me some guidance? Sandy Thomas in Greenfield.
Sure, Sandy. So yes, you need to fill out your final report. We understand that a lot of festivals didn't happen last year, but we still wanted to make sure that we got those payments out to all of the festivals that were approved, because we know that it's not just that particular moment that costs go into that festival. We know there's a lot of pre-planning. So for the final report, the thing is that you have to log into the GoSmart system with the email and the password that you used to apply for the application. That is the only way that that final report is going to show up. And if you don't remember, if someone has left and someone else filled out the application and you don't remember what the email address is or the password is, and you can't get into the GoSmart system, you can just shoot either Timothea or I an email, and we'll help you get in there so that you can fill out that final report.
Thank you, Lisa. I have one from Janice Akerstrom. Janice says, my municipal office handles downtown revitalization, including approaches to arts and culture events, and has administered CFF awards in the past. Our CPC handles only the distribution of CPA funds. Could you clarify again who in the municipality can submit for a grant festival?
So anyone in the municipality can submit for a festival. The Parks and Rec Department can submit, the local cultural council can submit, the Council on Aging can submit, the Historical Society can submit. It's really any municipal entity that is, that wants to produce a festival in a particular, in your city or town, is eligible to submit for a festival's grant.
Great. So Lisa, we have another question. This would be our third year of a fall festival. Would you advise us to wait and apply for a fall grant? Can same organizations apply for spring/summer festivals and fall grants?
Yes, so yes, your organization can apply for each grant cycle. So if you're doing a festival in spring, summer, you can apply. If you're doing a festival in fall, winter, you can apply. You just can't apply for two festivals in the same grant cycle for the same organization. Now, as for the fall winter, so the fall winter grant cycle will open up sometime in June. And that is all conditional, of course, on the budget, on the state budget. But that, though that application will open up in June, and that will go from September 1 to February 28th. So that's the grant cycle then.
Thank you, Lisa. I have one from Andrew Sharp. Lisa, if you wouldn't mind, I guess, explaining the differences between live and online events when it comes to eligibility one more time.
Sure. Hi, Andrew. So basically, your live events are going to be your live in-person events. So I know that you do a festival on the Greenway in the summer, and so if you're planning on doing that again this year, you just need to make sure that you have an online option available if for some reason that's not going to be allowed based on state guidelines. So that's your live in-person festival, which, you know, we're all hoping that we're going to be able to do more of. And then the online festivals are a festival that you might do, whether you could take your festival online and supporting, you know, the vendors that are part of your festival that would have been in person, and setting up, whether it's a Zoom or something like that, that you could present that festival in an online fashion, whether it's a music portion of it and then a vendor portion of it. All of that would happen online. So that's the two difference of those two things.
Great. And Lisa, we have a question from Maureen. We're going to have a Playwright Festival. Can the grant be used for prize money or to go towards the production of the winning play, or must it be used for costs associated with running the festival?
It needs to be associated with costs for running the festival. So that could be, and if you're doing it in person, that could be Zoom costs. It could be paying the actors to do the readings. It could be for paying the playwrights who are presenting their work. So it really should be part of how the festival, during the process of the festival.
Thank you, Lisa. I have one from Heidi Vaughan. Heidi says, you mentioned some fabulous online festivals. Are there any recordings or even descriptions of the particularly well-done ones to learn from their success?
So we do have in our FAQ section, Timothea has put in a bunch of festivals that had done some really great work over this COVID time period, from a drive-through art show to, you know, art hanging in the woods that you would walk through. So some really creative ways. So we can send you that information. You can go to the FAQs section and click on those and see those festivals. Timothy, is there anything else that you want to add to that, like that we know of, that festivals who have done really creative things?
I mean, I think there are some really great like outdoor sculpture shows that happened last year as well. You know, when it was warmer out, obviously, we saw a lot of like local cultural councils kind of partnering with Parks and Recreation departments and also local artists in the area to create something like an installation of some sort in the park as well. So I think that's one of them. But we, again, like Lisa said, we have some great links of us interviewing people who have either produced festivals or kind of made the decision to either go online or to cancel. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think we have another question. So Parks and Recreation and local cultural councils from same municipality can apply for grants, and one or more organizations from the same municipality, or can both be awarded grants?
So yeah, so I think what you're saying is, if the Parks and Rec applies and the Council on Aging applies and the LCC applies and they're all doing different things, that's fine from a municipality, then that's fine. Then yes, they can do that. Any other questions? Excellent. Okay, before we go, I just want to share with you what we're talking about as far as the festival's toolkit. So let's hope this works, but I think it will. So this is all on massculturalcouncil.org. So I just want to share this with you so that you know what to look for when you come on. And you can see massculturalcouncil.org/communities, festivals, and festival toolkit. And like I said, this webinar will be on this resource page when you'll find it. But I just want to give you an idea of what this new festival toolkit looks like. Can you guys see this? Timothea and Ricky, if you can tell me if you can see it. Can you see it? Awesome.
Yes,
so this is our new resource page for the festival toolkit. And as you can see, it's beautifully laid out. It'll give you all of this information when you click on introduction or understanding your needs, social media, also audience data. So inside each one of these blocks is going to give you a bunch of information about how to do your festival, some tips. We had a great webinar on whether or not to go virtual. Here's some great examples of demographic and data collection. So just want to make sure that you took a look at that and you could see that. We're really, really excited about it. We did some great work and we're so excited that we're able to share that with you this year. So we look forward to receiving your applications. We look forward to working with you. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. You've got some time. You've got until March 15th to get your applications in. And we're all looking forward to making sure that we're celebrating, in every possible way we can this year within our community. So I really want to thank you for joining us today.
Lisa.
Oh,
Ricky, go.
Just going to say we have one more from Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew would like to know, is it mandatory to have an online, I guess, backup plan with your live event? And if you change the date of the event, can you apply for this current stage?
Yes, Andrew, I don't like the word mandatory, but it is part of an eligibility requirement that you have some sort of online programs, just so we know. And if you're going to change your date, that's fine. That's fine. You just need to reach out to Timothea or I about whether or not you now need to move your festival and to even if you have to move it to the fall, even if you apply for spring, summer and you're moving to the fall, or you're going to move online. I think the most important part is that you just communicate with us, and we will help you work through any process that we need to make sure that you're successful in what you want to do in your community. Great. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for spending this time with us. We hope it was helpful, and really reach out to us if you have any questions. So thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.